So this is newly in bloom since the last time we spoke. This is Purple Pillar Rose of Sharon, and it's covered in buds. It's just starting to open. This one gets super tall, so it's going to really, make a nice, maybe I think 15 feet high, and the fence is 6 feet high. So eventually this is going to form just a nice mass of green in the spring and then flowers in the summer. And I think it's really beautiful. Now these are sterile. I had someone tell me that they're self-seeded, so I don't know what to say. I guess we'll find out. They are marketed as sterile, so we'll find out. The Bobo hydrangeas are coming even more into bloom now. This whole area of white, I think, is so pretty. So pretty. I need to fertilize my window box. I did just go in and deadhead some of the geraniums, so if it's looking a little more sparse there, that's why. But let me show you some of the things I'm working on. Firstly, we did set this one tile down, and that's about it. I mean, we're not doing anything permanent. It's not going anywhere. It's there. We just raked the gravel away, placed the tile down, and pushed the gravel back at it. So we'll just do the same for the rest of them, but I really would like Mark's help with that because that's more of a two-man job. One person can hold up the tile while the other one kind of finagles the gravel, and also we are pulling a line to try and make them as straight as we can. It's not going to be perfect, but what the heck is ever. I guess we'll start here. I was mentioning to you about cleaning up the coreopsis. So you can see this one's not too bad. This is one I actually planted this year. I had a few of them, and I ended up reconfiguring the knot garden, which I don't think I mentioned on YouTube. I moved the boxwoods that were the diamond. They were way out here, and I moved them in and closer to the obelisk because it gives me way more planting space. What was happening is, because I had this very large diamond, the sections that I was left to plant in as the boxwoods were growing were becoming obviously smaller and smaller, and I could just see into the crystal ball of the future that if I left it as it was, I was hardly going to have any space, to grow plants in between the sections. So with this smaller central diamond, it's going to help a lot. And then this whole swath is plants, and then that whole area is plants. And I just think that that will look a lot nicer. And boy, these are really filling in too. You remember last year I planted these. They were just baby little tiny little boxwoods. So I have been coming along in here and kind of sprucing up some of the ones that looked extra bad. This is not something you've got to be delicate with. And I'm doing some overall weeding if I see weeds. This isn't something you have to be delicate with. This is not something you have to, selectively prune. I'm quite frankly just grabbing a handful or a section and just chopping. So, you can just chop, you can chop and drop. You can just let it go. I do generally like to do that. If things get too messy, I will gather up the piles, but the plant material will break down and it gets kind of hidden by the other foliage anyway as it grows in. So I'm a big fan of the chop and drop in many situations, especially if it's just going to get hidden again by new flowers. So I'm coming along and I'm doing that, and just cleaning up little bits here and there on the coreopsis. You can see I have a few piles here started. I'm not going to do too much more because I don't want to take the plants completely down. There's still some that are full of blooms. This one here I had transplanted, and the blooms that were on the plant started to fade a little faster because of that. After I transplanted it, it was exposed to the hot heat. So that whole plant had spent blooms that I did take down. So hopefully, we'll see some nice fresh growth. And now it's going to give a little bit more space for the mealy cup sage to come in too. I'm sweating out here. I know you can probably hear me panting. It's hot already. Now, with this mealy cup sage, what's terrific about it is it's a perennial in my zone. I think it can, you know, it can be considered like a tender perennial, where depending on where you live, herbaceous perennial. And it will, when I say it's going to die down to the ground, and it will absolutely look like nothing. There's going to be a stick there, but to the point where even when spring arrives, this plant is still going to look dead. You're going to probably see a couple little spent stems. I generally leave these up over winter anyway, but you know, when I come along and I clean up, it looks dead for quite a while. And it takes you know, it takes a while for the temperatures to warm up and to get these really going. It's really been about the only past few weeks that these have put on a lot of growth because they like the heat. So they're waiting for that heat. But anyhow, what I love about this one, this is Unplugged So Blue. So this is a proven winner's variety, but this is a spent bloom. And a little bee there. And the bees still love, see the ends are still blooming there. The spent blooms on this particular plant look attractive. So I don't even deadhead this one very frequently. And if you don't, you can see, look, there's still all sorts of new buds. I mean, this is just getting started. This plant will bloom definitely into the fall temperatures. So that's a great one, and it's one of my favorites. I was supposed to be talking about deadheading, and now I'm talking about plants. Okay, and then I'm going to show you the Lisianthus again because it's so pretty. There it is. All right, so there's another pile of the Coreopsis. I'm up on a ladder here right now, and yes, I'm being very careful. But I've got a little Nest camera up there at the back door, and I like it, obviously, for security reasons. I've had it there for a few years, but also it's kind of cool to be able to see some of the things I'm doing in the back garden back on the camera. I'm like, oh my gosh, look, I spent that whole day out there doing this or that, so it's kind of fun to see. So I've got the Nest camera up there, but this is a native wisteria, Amethyst Falls. So it's not invasive, no worries. I have like a decade of experience growing this plant because I used to have a very large one growing at my previous potting shed. And it's very tame, very, very tame. I have this one growing in a container for about 2-3 years now. So you can grow these in a container. If anything, it might send up like a little random runner into your flower bed every once in a blue moon, which there's another native variety called Blue Moon Kentucky, ironically. And that one I find to be a little bit more aggressive. And I think it's important to note that's aggressive versus invasive. This is native, it's not invasive. It's not invasive to our area. If native plants spread, they're spreading because they're happy, because they're in their natural environment. A non-native Chinese wisteria is just gonna go completely rampant. And, you know, I would never plant something like that against my house here because it would definitely cause structural damage and so on and so forth. But anyway, you might see a random runner here or there. And if you do, you just pluck it out and move along. It's not a problem. But anyway, I am clipping out because it was growing over the Nest camera, which actually was kind of cool because I could scroll through and see, like, you know, in the evening, the leaves moving and changing, and, you know, depending on the sunlight, the leaves opening and unfurling, and it was really kind of cool. But I need to get that away. I've got some cup hooks, just these guys. I use these a lot, and I don't mind going right into the house. I really don't. And I will, and I do. You do you. I'm not worried about it. It's not a problem. I've done things like this for a long, long time. So I'm going to start to train it up over our back door roof. And I'm just going to screw a little cup hook right there and just start to get it to meander in that direction. So that's that. That's number one. And I've got a tripod set up because I was gonna show myself doing some weeding, but I'm not. I want to just kind of talk to you about these things. So here's that American Dream tick seed I showed you the other day, and I've got little piles of that all over because it was really starting to come into my alliums, go into these different areas, and flop quite a bit. So again, I was not delicate. I just grabbed some handfuls and just started to snip away. And it may fill back in. I'm sure it will. And if it does, you know, you can either clip it to control it again, or just, you know, divide it and section it out in the fall or next spring, whatever you would choose to do. Here's some of those roses. This is my first year getting blooms on this particular apple blossom carpet rose, which I was obsessed with finding this. And I found a few last year, but they were baby plants, so, you know, they didn't do anything. I had no blooms. And this year, it's just, they bloom profusely and prolifically. A lot of P words. But this is something that I do remove the spent blooms, but they're in clusters, so I'll just wait until the whole cluster is spent and then just clip that off. But look at that, all those roses there. I actually have one at the end of the line here too, with a self-seeded Nicotiana that decided to just grow up next to it, so I left it. Why not? If it starts to look too weird, I'll just cut it out. But you can see the pile of stuff. This is not a chop and drop situation, because it would just look very messy because there's not enough things to hide it. I need to get some mulch in here. That's definitely still on the agenda. But things are looking much more tidy. Things were getting very overgrown. And one of the reasons in particular was this yarrow that I cannot remember the name of. It's a white yarrow, but it was marketed as, and you can even see the direction that it is because it was laying. It was marketed as a sturdy, you know, yarrow. They want to lean. So it was flopping all over, flopping all over and taking over this whole bed. So I cut off anything that was laying on the ground, and now you can see some of the fresh new growth coming in, and guess what? That'll grow and it'll flop on the ground, and round she goes. This penstemon is really lovely. I picked this up actually at Home Depot. It was brutal hot, too hot to go out and garden. So I went to the garden center, as any responsible gardener would do. I happened to be at Home Depot picking up some other things. So how could I bypass the garden center? So I got this penstemon, and I got this agastache and hummingbird mint. It's so pretty. It smells so good. I could not pass those up. So those are there. Shredded mulch. I keep looking at it because it looks so barren. You know, the shredded mulch, not only does it retain moisture, not only does it help suppress weeds, it also looks nice too. You know, right now seeing the bare soil is not as attractive. Oh, look. I've got, this is a red admiral butterfly. They're fast. As soon as you approach them, they're like, okay, I'm out of here. But I've had so many red admirals in my garden this year, and it's really the first time I've taken notice or had them in the garden. Look, there it is. It's gonna fly away again. I've had a whole bunch of them in my garden this year. Not as many of the swallowtails yet, I'm hoping, but the liatris is looking really pretty, starting to bloom. And one of the things I am going to do is come along, not right this moment, but I'm going to come along and start to remove some of the spent blooms on my coneflowers. Because when you deadhead these also, you can see here and here, new blooms. So when you deadhead and clean these plants up, and the fresh blooms will come in, I do like to leave some of the spent blooms up. Oh, my son is calling me. I'll be right back. My boys are at theater camp during the day. We're big theater nerds here, by the way, in case you didn't know. We all did Annie as a family, and we just love theater. Mark has theater background. I just love plays and shows. So the boys are at theater camp, and they are having a ball. So he just wanted to tell me that they were trying on costumes and things like that. So this border is buzzing with bees, which leads me to show you the Veronica here. Lots of spent blooms on the Veronica. This one I will be a little bit more selective with because there are spent blooms mixed in with the fresh blooms, and I'm actually not even going to touch this plant right now because it's covered in pollinators. So I'm going to come back later when they're not as active. Oh, just had a cucumber beetle fall on me. I'll come back later when they're not as active. But some things like, see here, all these new blooms. So with a cone flower, I'll usually follow it down to where I see a bloom. See, there's a branch coming out here with that bloom. And then I'll just snip it kind of right above that. But I do leave a lot of the cone flowers up for the birds and things too. I don't cut them all off, but I leave a lot of them up for seeds for the birds. That's something that I love to do and encourage. And over the fall, whatever's left in the fall will stay in the fall. And this one is, again, I like the shape of this one and the look of the flowers on this one much better. But even since the last couple days, when I last talked to you, this border is just going bananas. Oh my gosh, look at this. This is one of the floret blooms. Yay. This is the floret super expensive zinnia seeds. I was joking with my friend the other day and he said, for that price, I want my zinnias to sing. I said, me too. I said, no auto-tune. They better sing me an aria or an opera because they were expensive. So that's one. It's pretty, but it just opened. So I'm not going to judge it yet. All flowers are pretty, but I'm expecting a lot from these. Phlox you can deadhead. These still look good, so I'm not going to at the moment. One thing I did do is my salvia. Now I had come in end of May and did like a Chelsea chop. So where you take the plants down and they'll flush back new blooms, which they are doing. There's a few new blooms. But what happened was, again, it got so hot that after I did that Chelsea chop, look at this. Lots of crispy going on. So I've been coming along and cutting all of this stuff, all of this, because what's happening is if you leave all that up and the plants, they're actually planted too close together anyway, but it is what it is. If you leave them like that, high heat, high humidity, plus the plants close together, you're gonna get a lot of mildew. So we're getting like mildewy funkiness, yellowing going on because it's just not enough airflow there and too hot conditions. Here's a better look at that penstemon. I mean, if you were at Home Depot, would you be able to resist that plant? I don't think so. Oh, here's a poppy. Here's a poppy in bloom. It's so bright, I'm sorry, but wow. Along the back fence, did I say that was Major Wheeler? That's Major Wheeler honeysuckle. That's also a native. And I go in there when I can and train it around. If I did not go back in the thicket and wrap it around the trellis, it would go gangbusters and it would have no defined shape. So I clip some stems out, I wrap other stems around, and you just got to keep something like that maintained because it's not going to do it by itself. You can even see here it's getting a little bit tangly and mangly, which leads me to also mention the diamond trellis. So many people ask about it. I love it, but I need to make mention, again, I got this at Home Depot. This was a few years ago. I believe it's by Ochla. They have made these panels significantly smaller. And I will show you because I have them. Now I bought one to add there. This was last year or the year before. And I noticed immediately, wow, this is much smaller. So I actually called the company and he said that, yeah, they had to reduce the size because of the weight and the shipping was just astronomical. He was incredibly pleasant, but you know, you understand that is what it is. So they did a run of these and I guess they realized quite quickly that it was just not feasible, but I have the smaller on the other fence. Hold on. So you can see how much smaller they are. You wouldn't notice if I didn't say something. And certainly if I had my life figured out and this plant and this planted up properly, it would hide that bottom, but it's way up and it's in much smaller. So keep that in mind. If you see these or if you buy these, they're not going to be as large as the ones that are on the other side of the fence there. And it gives the plant more room, more space, more airflow to come in and deadhead. You know, it's very helpful. You can use your hands if you can, or if something is a little bit more thickly branched, you can come in with scissors. I think things are looking really good, especially now. I mean, you can see a lot. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. Getting that yarrow out of there, clipping back some of the coreopsis, and making some space because guess what? I bought more plants. There's a place called Bloom Box. I bought some plants from there. I got some plants from Annie's Annuals online. They have some great plants. And from Roman's Gardens. That's another one that I love. So I just ordered some more plants from there. And I'll show you when they come in and we can take a look and ooh and ah over the plants. I need mulch desperately bad. We've covered that significantly, but I can't wait to get more plants in here. And then there is some rudbeckia. So back here and there and over here somewhere, there's some large clumps of rudbeckia. So I'll have some nice yellow. My garden is missing yellow. I need more. I know some people don't like yellow in the garden. I do. I like all the colors. I really do. And I need more of that. I've got lots of pinks and purples, because that's my favorite. Actually, adding the pink from the penstemon and the agastache was a departure for me because I usually lean towards purpley or fuchsia type colors. So I'm trying to get some more color in here. I got some straw flowers. I actually got some dahlias. I'll talk to you more about that later. And yeah, so I'll be filling in some gaps and holes, and I'm really excited. Here's that geranium roseanne, by the way. This is just a phenomenal plant, wonderful ground cover, nice mounding habit. I mean, there's nothing nice you can't say about geranium roseanne. It's just gorgeous. Oh, and then I did start to put plant labels out here. Can you believe that? I'm like labeling plants. So 4th of July project, working on the pavers. It'll look just like this, ta-da. So I'm going to continue to deadhead, continue to clean some things up. I need to get mulch in. And I wish I could give you guys a recommendation for mulch, but the truth of the matter is I don't have one. Shredded natural hardwood mulch is what I look for. And hopefully whatever is on sale, and usually in bags, because even though getting it delivered in bulk is more cost effective, it's also way more labor intensive for me to, shovel that into a wheelbarrow, then wheel it to where I want it to be, and then dump it, and then do it all over again. Whereas bags, you can just, boom, 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 lay them out where you want them to go, open them up, and throw the mulch around. Okay, that's it. I could talk to you guys all day. I hope you're all doing wonderful. I'm going to continue to deadhead and clean things up out here, and hopefully the next time we meet, there will be pavers down and maybe some more plants. I will film the plants when they come before I plant them, just to show you. Okay. Well, I didn't get a chance to post that video yet, so I thought I may as well show you how everything arrives from Bloom Box. Now this is a regionally based service. So most of these plants come to me from not far away, and they're always delivered open box. So nothing is crushed. You don't have to worry about anything like that. Really nice plants. So I got some yellow straw flowers, which look terrific. I love straw flowers. I usually try and grow some from seed. This is a spent bloom. But this year I did not. So I definitely wanted to pick up some, and then more of this mealy cup sage that I love because it was at a very reasonable price. I think it was $4.99 a plant. So that'll perennialize for me. And then this is a bee balm that I've never had before. And it is raspberry. Wait, hold on. Let me get the tag so I can tell you the right name. Oh, no, this is Judith's Fancy Fuchsia. So I'm really looking, well, I'll just show you the tag since it's not in bloom. I'm really looking to get more magenta pops and burgundy and deeper, richer colors and brighter colors too in the garden. So I think these are going to work out great. And I'm going to tuck them in all around the patio border area where that obelisk is. Kind of in that area, I think. Okay, so here they are. Bloom Box. Check it out. They might be in your area.